Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for another video showing you how I use the things that I grow in my garden. I was taken aback with how popular that last video was. I wasn't sure how it was going to be received, but you guys seem to enjoy it. So I have put together a bunch of clips showing you how I've used more of the things coming out of my garden, because they change obviously as the seasons change. Sweet peas on the kitchen shelf and also on the dining room table. Salad with homegrown butter crunch lettuce, cherry tomatoes and peas, and then I'm going to add some store-bought cucumber. I am flash freezing strawberries from the garden to use in strawberry tart or smoothies later. This is lemon juice from lemons that were given to us. I'm harvesting at least 30 pods of peas every day. Today I got 68, so I've shelled the peas and they're going to go into the fridge to be sprinkled into salads and eaten raw. This is a whole Brocco flower head that I harvested today, and I've cut it up, blanched it, and it's going to go into the freezer because we are eating salads at the moment, not steamed veg. For dinner tonight we're having meat and steamed vegetables, and all of the vegetables came out of the garden. There is Brocco flower, dwarf beans, carrots, and these bits of beetroot. It's the Powershot beetroot, and it just goes white or golden when you cook it. There's a sunflower on the back fence that was facing the fence, so I cut it to bring in the house so I could enjoy it. Sweet peas in the bathroom. Fresh flowers in the bathroom always feel so luxurious. I have a couple of lettuce heads in the laundry room because this sink is big enough to take one of these plastic tubs. These were about to bolt. You could see they were kind of starting to get long and they were going to flower and go to seed. And when that happens, lettuce gets really bitter. So I picked them, I just pulled them up, roots and all, and I've put them, as you would flowers in a vase, I've put them in this tub of water so we can just come and get our lettuce here whenever we want salads and it wouldn't go to waste. I'm pan frying some pork chops, but almost all of the veg for our dinner has come out the garden. We have pan fried zucchini and radishes, steamed peas, steamed carrots, the broccoli was store-bought, and steamed beans. Tonight we're having barbecue, and this is the salad I made, and all of this came from the garden. There is salad leaves, lettuce, spinach, a cucumber. I didn't think any of my cucumbers had grown, but apparently they did because I found this massive one lurking. Different kinds of tomatoes and peas. I'm cooking some tomatoes to use in our fish curry tonight instead of using tinned tomatoes, and these are red and yellow and purple tomatoes, just different varieties. When they're stewed for a while, I'm going to blend them with a stick blender, and this prevents me from having to peel them. I also harvested some sweet pea seeds, which is pretty much exactly the same as harvesting peas. They come in pods, except they brown and dry. This is probably the last of the peas. I've blanched them and they're going into the freezer. For dinner tonight we are having the first of the corn, some buttered beetroot, I can't eat corn, peas and zucchini. All of this is from the garden, and then the boys are having pies and Grant and I are having steak with that. Today I harvested some of the butter beans and purple beans that I let go to seed, so I'll be able to plant these next year. I picked 5 apples today, and I'm just going to peel, cube and steam them for a snack. Look how big this apple is. It's huge. Grant's also having some of the apple raw as a snack. Last year all of our apples were riddled with codling moth, and I'm really excited to not have had that problem this year, so we actually have some usable apples. For lunch, Grant is having fresh homegrown corn on the cob with butter and salt, and I know that there's 4 there, but they are quite small, like there's my hand, so I'm sure he'll enjoy that. For dinner tonight, the sausages, broccoli and sweet potato were bought, but the beans, carrots and beetroot were from the garden. I've made a little dessert with the steamed apples. I got some cinnamon, maple syrup, cashew nuts and coconut cream on there. And it's like a paleo apple crumble. Lunch today is rice pasta, and I've fried up some zucchini and peas from the garden with some mushrooms that I bought, and there is goat's cheese on top. It's lunchtime and Grant is having some corn, we're having some lamb chops, and I have grated up a sweet potato and then a zucchini and a radish from the garden, and mixed it up with some herbs and paprika and eggs, and I'm going to attempt to make fritters. We'll see how they turn out. I haven't even waited for the rest of my lunch. I'm just eating these fritters. I say fritters, they're basically omelets because it's like paleo style fritters. There's no grain in it, so they are basically omelets because it's kind of just egg and veg. And I made some mayonnaise to dip it in, and they're quite delicious. There you go, Sunday lunch: lamb chop, onions, the fritters with the veg from the garden and carrots from the garden, and Grant had corn as well. This is the first of the pumpkins that I harvested. This one was actually a volunteer. We didn't plant a pumpkin there, and in fact there were no pumpkin plants growing there last year either, but came up. So this was the only one off the vine. This was the one in the berry cage, and I'm just peeling it and chopping it to make soup, and I'm also saving some of the seeds to plant next year. That's how the pumpkin soup turned out. It looks like diarrhea, but I think it'll be pretty tasty. Cosmos in the kitchen. I have cooked and blended some tomatoes, and I'm going to use that in the spaghetti bolognese tonight. My lurid looking salad for lunch, all from the garden. This is cos lettuce, or romaine as my American friends will know it, pickled beetroot, tomatoes and carrots.
Look at this, 3 delicious corn from the garden, and they're so tasty and sweet. Salt and pepper, butter, perfect lunch.
I've harvested butter beans and purple beans for planting next year. These ones had already dried in the pod, but the rest hadn't, so I hope they'll be alright. I'm just going to leave them out to dry for a bit. I also have some sweet pea seeds to harvest, so I'll just pop these open, and the little black seeds are inside there. Here are the pumpkin seeds that I harvested and have dried, so I just need to package those to plant next year. I'm currently relaxing outside, and I am harvesting radish seeds. This was an amethyst radish that I let go to seed, and then I pulled it out and I put it into my greenhouse to dry. So all I'm doing is picking the pods, crushing them and extracting the little seeds from out there. There's one, looks like a little stone, and I'm just putting them into a little cup. It's a fairly tedious job, and you might wonder why it's worth going to the trouble. Obviously you won't have to buy seeds if you can just get some from your plant, but also there are other advantages. For example, if you live in a windy area, your plants will actually put into the DNA to make deeper, stronger roots to withstand the wind. That's just one example. So whatever will make them suit and be successful in your particular garden will be put into the DNA, and they'll just get stronger and stronger every year. Just starting to dish up. All of our veg comes out the garden tonight. I've got salad leaves, spinach, pickled beetroot and tomatoes, corn on the cob, little potatoes, and this is butternut squash. I harvested this one a little bit early, and we're having that with chicken. Harvested another pumpkin today. This is a fungoproa crown, and this is going to become soup again. Because of all the ridges in the skin of this pumpkin, I just thought it would be tricky to peel, so I've chopped it up. I'm just going to roast it in the oven and then scoop out the soft flesh and use that. I briefly considered roasting the seeds, but I've done it before. None of us really enjoyed eating it, so I won't bother. And I don't think I'll save seeds from this either. Next year I want to grow orange pumpkins, and the year after that I'm not sure, so I won't save these seeds. Nicely roasted. It's gone soft. I'm going to scoop them out and put it into soup now. Harvested some chilies today, and I've chopped up the smallest one to go into the pumpkin soup. That's how the soup turned out. I just kind of mashed it and left it quite chunky. And cooking up some corn for Grant's lunch, always. Sweet peas on the kitchen shelf and on the dining room table. I saved some of the pumpkin from the soup making exercise, and so we're having roast pumpkin, carrots and peas that I froze from the garden, and then we're having that with pork chops and hash browns. Breakfast is eggs with tomatoes from the garden, salt and pepper. For dinner I've made up a pasta sauce with roasted pumpkin from the garden, zucchini from the garden, chili from the garden, tomatoes from the garden, and I've mixed that with store-bought mushrooms, onions, a bit more chopped tomatoes, because while we have a ton of tomatoes, not all of them are ripe enough to put into a sauce. And so we have a pumpkin sauce, I guess, for pasta. This is the pumpkin that keeps on giving. I keep cutting off pieces and cooking it, and it's just never ending. So in there I have pumpkin from the garden, and I've put that with some chicken, onions, mushrooms, bone broth, and I'm going to have that with rice pasta and broccoli, obviously store-bought, and then top it all with some goat's cheese. That's how it looks. I also put in a bit of homemade mayonnaise. Harvested a bunch of apples today, and I am making applesauce in the crock pot that I'm going to freeze in portions, and we're also enjoying them as a snack. I don't know what sort of apples these are, but they are so crisp and juicy and delicious, and they taste like Sprite. Applesauce ready for the freezer. I harvested a bunch of tomatoes and I'm freezing them. I was cooking them, pureeing them and freezing them, and then it occurred to me, why am I cooking them first? Because they're going to be cooked. They're going to go in like spaghetti bolognese and things. So I just washed them, chopped them up and pureed them, and I'm freezing them uncooked. And then, like I said, I'll cook them in soup and stews and bolognese and things like that. So just going straight into the freezer now. Today I'm making beef curry in the crock pot, and in there I have some pureed tomatoes from the garden and also some pumpkin. Delicious pumpkin and white chocolate muffins straight out of the oven. I will link the recipe that I used below. It didn't have white chocolate in the recipe, but I threw some in anyway. I hope you enjoyed seeing how we use all of the bits and pieces coming out of the garden. If you like this kind of video, give us a thumbs up and I'll be sure to make more of these. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.